Hello everyone, I'm continuing the series on opening the psychic senses. And so for this video, I am focusing on the topic of setting sacred space, which is such an integral part of dropping into your soul space and listening to what it's telling you about opening your psychic senses. Like I said earlier in the previous video, that opening the psychic senses isn't some 10-minute process and then you're done. It's actually a lifestyle. It's a way of living. The space is really developed for us to see how we can embody our soul to be living our lives, both from our physical body perspective, but also from our spiritual side equally. In a culture that we have, pretty much for a very, very long time, neglected the spiritual side of ourselves. And so this is wisdom that is not readily available. And this is where I feel my calling is to come and help people to learn how to embody their spiritual side outside of spiritual dogma, and all of that. So this is just basic intuitive development, but I'm bringing in information from many different sources. So setting sacred space is something that is so important for any healing you want to do in your life, whether it's intuitive development or if it's wanting to gain understanding and perspective about certain challenges you're facing, or if you're wanting to divine your future, whatever it is, setting sacred space and going into sacred space repetitively and consistently is ultimately going to deepen your connection with your soul. So let me explain more about this. Setting sacred space, there's a few prerequisites, about this. So things I've learned in my Reiki attunements and in my Kriya Yoga attunements is that before you meditate, make sure you don't have a full stomach of food, because then all of your chi and your prana and your energy is focused on your intestines and digesting. So you want to do it before you eat a meal. You don't want to be starving because you don't want your stomach to be growling and to be thinking about food the whole time, but you also don't want to be full of food. So somewhere in between then. Ideally, the best time to set sacred space and to drop into meditative state is in the morning, before you've encountered all these energies throughout the day. You're energetically clear, you're awake and alert because you're well rested, so you're not tired, versus when you're doing it at the end of the day and you're tired, you can actually fall asleep when you try to meditate, which is a common challenge for people who are new to meditating. So doing it first thing in the morning is ideal. And another thing that I like to say is after exercise, because after you've physically moved your body, then your body and your mind are kind of slowed down and calmed down. When you drop in, it's like you drop in even heavier and even deeper into an altered state. And so those are kind of some of the prerequisites before having your space started. Another thing that you might want to do is if you have an altar in your home. An altar is basically just, it could be as small as a little square, or it could be like a whole table, a space where you have things that are meaningful to you. I have an altar, and on my altar I have some photos of ancestors that I've known and that I haven't known. I have intentions that I have on there for the month. I have affirmations. I have crystals that I like. I have my sage that I smudge with. I have all kinds of things on there that are meaningful to me. So if you do drop into sacred space, it's really good to do it in a consistent place in your home if you do it at home, and to do it next to your altar. Because at your altar, you can light a candle, you can light an incense, anything that helps you to drop in. It's not the candle and incense that helps you to drop in and go into an altered state, but it's the association. So when you consistently meditate and you have a ritual, like you ritualize it, let's say you light a candle and then you meditate, you light a candle and then you meditate, the action of you lighting the candle, your consciousness already starts to drop in because it's associated, lighting the candle, with meditating. So perhaps you don't have candles, you don't want incense, you don't want fire hazards, so you use an essential oil. So let's say you use the same fragrance every time you meditate. So this is frankincense. This is a great oil to use to meditate. You just put it on, and then that smell is associated with every time that you meditate. And so when you put that smell on, or let's say you pour it in a bowl, you don't put it on your skin, whatever you want to do, that every time you smell that, you automatically start to drop into an altered state because it's been associated with it. So there's lots of ways that you can enhance the sacred space. Once you have all of that ritual set up and you're dropping into your sacred space and you intend to go into your sacred space, then you sit in a comfortable posture. You know, you can sit with your legs crossed, you can sit in a chair, you can even lie down in your bed if that's what's comfortable and you don't fall asleep. Whatever's comfortable for you, that you can feel like you can completely relax. Just try to have your spine completely erect and straight, because that allows the energy to flow freely through you. And once you're sitting up or laying down, you close your eyes and you bring your focus inward. So you draw your attention from the outer world and you bring it into your inner world. And you know, being a Reiki master and being attuned to Kriya Yoga, I think that it's absolutely foundational to run energy. And even in psychic development, like with the Berkeley Psychic Institute, they run energy. And so for me, this is something I do every time I drop in to do readings on people, or to just meditate, or to do readings on myself. So some of that process is grounding and then opening up your energetic channels. So real quick, I can explain how I do that process. There's lots of different ways. And this process that I'm going to explain right now is really kind of a combination of what I've learned in Kriya Yoga and Reiki, and also in psychic development. So it's kind of a mishmash. It's what works for me. And if you want to find what works for you, you can do research and try all these different practices and do whatever works for you. So grounding can simply be visualizing at the base of your spine a large column of energy dropping from your hips all the way down through the floor into the soil, all the way down to the center of the earth. And what this area acts for you is it releases any excess energy, releases any energy that's not yours, and it releases any energy that your body is ready to release. And you can just witness energy releasing from you. And then another way that I run energy is I connect to earth energy. So at the centers of our feet, we have feet chakras. So I imagine in the centers of my feet, whether my legs are crossed or not, that there are little energy cords that go from the centers of my feet through the floor and deep down into the soil. And every time I do this, I visualize that it's almost like trunks of a tree shooting down into, it's almost like a time lapse, shooting down into the earth. And then the roots are going far and wide and deep and growing exponentially. And so I imagine that it's all the way at the center of the earth, or as far and deep as it can go. And once I have that rootedness, I now allow and invite and intend for earth energy to move up those roots through the feet chakras, up my leg channels, the energy channels in my legs, up into my hips. And then any excess energy shoots back down that grounding cord, back down to the earth, so that I have a cycle of energy going up my feet and then releasing down the base of my spine. So my lower body is really grounded. And sometimes that earth energy wants to move up higher into my chakra system, and then it just pours out of my hands and back into my field. Then we connect to what psychic development circles call cosmic energy, or source. And what that is our crown chakra is up here. So, and this is often depicted as a 1,000-petaled lotus. You can imagine this 1,000-petal lotus is slowly opening. This is all with your eyes closed. And you're intending to allow source energy, or whatever color energy you want to imagine. It might, just say, I intend whatever, like a healing energy to pour down into me. And it may be pink, it may be blue, it could be whatever color. I usually see a white iridescent color, which is what I associate with Reiki. And I see that light. It's like light rain. So it looks like raindrops, but it's actually light pouring down into the crown chakra and moving through all of the chakra system. So I'll walk us through that real quick. So when it pours into the crown chakra, what it's doing is that energy is cleansing, clearing, lifting, and releasing any energy that is blocking or disturbing the flow of that chakra. So our crown chakra is a funnel that goes up, and our root chakra is a funnel that goes down to the earth. All the rest of the chakras are like funnels that come out from the front and back of us. So we have our brow chakra, we have our throat chakra, we have our heart chakra, we have our solar plexus chakra, and we have a sacral chakra. And then we have ear chakras too. And there's chakras all over the body, but those are the main ones. So when you see this white iridescent light pouring down into your crown chakra, you're intending that it's cleansing, clearing, and releasing that chakra. And you can see any of the excess energy or energy that's ready to be released drains right down your back and releases out that grounding cord down the base of your spine and recycles back to the earth. And as the energy moves down your system, it goes into the brow chakra, which your pineal gland, which is behind your brows and just above your ears, is where the third eye is, right? It's where our inner sight is. And that's where the chakra originates. So you see this white iridescent light going into there, and it's almost like you see these funnels of light. You see them however you want to see them. People see all kinds of different things. And you could see the white energy, or the energy that you're inviting in, cleansing, clearing, and breaking up and releasing energy, and then allowing any of that energy that's being released to go down the back of your spine, down to the earth. This is where clairvoyance happens. This is where claircognizance happens. So as you're doing this, you're actually opening your psychic senses, essentially. You're cleansing, clearing, and releasing. And you do this every day, and it really helps to clear your energy as a human being, but also it opens up your psychic senses. Kriya Yoga, which is a secret system, does a process that's similar to this too. You bring the energy down into, I see my clairaudient, my ear chakras, being cleaned and cleansed and released, and dropping any of the excess energy down the base of my spine, bringing that energy down further to the throat chakra, cleansing, clearing, and releasing. The throat chakra doesn't really necessarily have a clear psychic sense associated with it, but this is actually, like the back chakra, this is actually where I feel guides and loved ones communicate through me, like if I'm channeling. And it's also the way that we vocalize and externalize what we're receiving internally. So it is part of the flowing system of psychic senses. So we want to clear this. Bringing the energy down even further into our heart chakra, cleansing, clearing, and releasing. Our heart chakra actually has its own intuition. It utilizes all the other energy centers, but this is really, like, some people say that the heart space is actually our soul space. So this is really also the middle point between our upper and lower chakras. So it's really essential to have a vertical column of clear energy to be a clear receiver of information. So we cleanse and clear that energy. We bring it down to the solar plexus and cleanse and clear this. And this is the way that we actually make connections psychically with our outer world. We bring it down to our sacral chakra, which is where the woman's womb is, and in men it may be in a slightly different spot, but it's somewhere in that region. And we cleanse and clear that. That's kind of the clairsentient area. So that's where we empathically feel energy, or we have, pick up on people's feelings. It's like there's these little tentacles that come out from this space and feel things out in the world, spiritually and in the physical world. And this is where we get our gut feelings and we feel the vibe of things. So this is a psychic sense also. So cleansing, clearing, releasing that. And then the earth energy is already cleansing and clearing the root chakra. So now our whole system has been cleansed and cleared and released, and it's running efficiently. It's basically like doing a tune-up on your car, but you're doing this on your energy system. And once you have run all that energy, this is where you are sitting by your altar or in your place that you go to every day, preferably at the same time every day, doing a meditation, dropping into your sacred space, clearing your energy, and now you should feel really clear and light and pretty much in a completely altered state. The second process that's really, really important is mindfulness. So this is actually like mindfulness-based practices, Zen meditation, lots of different spiritual practices that use this kind of knowledge that I'm about to describe. Same with psychic development, they talk about this too. This is the space, this is how I experience it. This is a space where now that your energy is cleared and you're really present and in your internal, you're in your body, and you're like everything's accentuated. You could feel where your hip hurts or where old wounds are in your body. You're hyper aware of your body, and you're hyper aware of your thoughts and any images that are going on inside of you because you're internalized now. And the goal is to not participate in the mind. That the mind is actually a mechanism that our intuition uses, but intuition is not derived from the mind. So it's important to practice mindfulness. And what mindfulness is when you're in this internalized state, you're going to have a stream of consciousness happen. One of the most common things that people have happen when they're meditating is I think about all the things they're supposed to be doing. The dishes are dirty, the laundry needs to be done, I need to do that homework assignment, I need to start preparing for that test that I have, oh, I forgot to do that assignment at work. All of the checklist starts to come up. The practice is to notice that you're having these thoughts, but to not participate in them. So this is kind of how I see it in my mind's eye. It's like a river of thought. I have a thought. I see it and I watch it pass. I have a thought. I see it and I watch it pass. I am merely observing my thoughts. I'm not jumping in and extrapolating on a thought. So let's say I have the thought like, oh my God, so-and-so said something about me. Like I have a thought about a conversation I had that was really challenging, and I realized, oh, maybe I said something that was offensive to someone. I could jump in and start to like, well, did she say this? And start to actually have an inner dialogue about that thought. Or I can step back into the observer mode and allow that thought to just pass and let it go. Now, this takes a lot of practice and a lot of time. So if you're new to this could be the most challenging obstacle to meditation, is having all these thoughts. But the really, really amazing thing with meditation, because I tell you what, I have lots of thoughts. I talk 1,000,000 miles an hour. The thoughts in my head are happening 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I feel so much more able to step outside of thought when I need to and just be present because of this mindfulness practice. You don't have to just do this in meditation. You can do this when you're doing the dishes. You can do this when you're doing any kind of mundane task, and just be aware of what thoughts you're having and step outside of them and not participate in them. And this develops what's called metaconsciousness, which is the observer consciousness. And my interpretation of this, and also other spiritual leaders' interpretations of this, is that when you're the observer, you're actually in your soul space. You're in the non-physical. It's your physical matter, your mind, that has all these thoughts going on, that you're stepping outside of that and you're observing it. That is the inner presence, the inner being, the inner awareness. That is your soul. So the more you practice this mindfulness, the more you actually practice stepping into your soul. And I actually energetically feel when I'm inside and I see the streams of thoughts going, I actually feel energetically that I step behind myself and up a little higher. Like my awareness is no longer in my body. I'm not out of body, I'm embodied, but I feel the awareness step out of it and up a little bit. It elevates. It raises in consciousness. So part of this sacred space practice is running the energy and then doing the mindfulness practice. Part of the mindfulness practice that's so essential is to stay neutral to the thoughts. Don't judge them. Oh my God, I can't believe I keep thinking about this person, or oh my God, I can't believe I'm thinking this right now, how superficial of me. Don't make judgments about the thoughts. That's participating in your thoughts. To have a complete neutrality to what thoughts are coming. Be completely neutral. This practice alone, this mindfulness practice of neutrality, it reverberates into your life in like so many profound ways. I can tell you that mindfulness practice has helped me to learn how I function internally. What triggers me? What doesn't trigger me? What are the thoughts that are likely to follow when I'm triggered? Where do those come from? You know, there's whole meditation practices you can do, like insight meditation, where you take one of those thoughts and then you work with it to understand the mechanisms and what's operating underneath of that. That's a whole nother practice, but it's really essential. And doing this mindfulness practice helps you to step into that soul space, and your soul will inevitably give you intuitions about the origins of these traumas, about these complexes, about the inner workings of your psyche. So it's extremely informative, and it just brings more and more consciousness to what's happening to you unconsciously, because our unconscious is just kind of always running in the background. So you're practicing this metaconsciousness, the observer consciousness. You're in your sacred space. And what I see it as is kind of like my mind, the stream of consciousness, I set it over here on the shelf. So that can still be happening, but now I am an empty vessel for intuition to come through me. The point is to not participate in thought. Now you're really what I call the receptive space. You're in sacred space. You've cleared your energy. You're allowing the flows of thoughts to happen. You're not participating in it. You're in neutral, non-judgmental space. And this is where you're able to receive intuitions from your soul. One warning of this is, if you're new to meditation, if you're new to this kind of mindfulness practice, that the second we stop the busyness of our life and we drop into our soul space is the time when our soul brings up all the stuff that's been wanting to be healed. So really painful stuff might come up. You might have traumatic memories come up. You might have some intense grief come, and it can feel like you don't know where this is coming from. It could be really confusing and disorienting. Like, why am I so sad all of a sudden? But what you can do is you can stay with that feeling if you want to participate in a healing meditation. And you can ask it questions. So you're in a receptive space where your soul can communicate with you, but you're also feeling, you're embodied, you're feeling what's coming up for you. So your soul is bringing up that you have a lot of grief. And to be neutral and accepting and just give it awareness and love and be like, wow, I'm feeling grief right now, and just acknowledge it. And that awareness and that acceptance and that love that you send to it heals it. It helps to let it be seen, to be known, and then to be processed. And that frees up your unconscious space so that you can be more present. So you may have these confusing things come up, and they're not coming from nowhere. Or if you're a medium, you may be picking up on spirit stuff, and that's a whole nother situation, which I will in a later video talk about energetic hygiene and how to discern what's yours and what's not yours. That's a whole nother process. But like I said, the series of videos, I'm going to talk about this series of videos and the sequence of events that I see happen in psychic opening and development. And this is from my own experience, but also from research I've done on psychic openings and psychic development. You know, having the intention to connect with your soul and open your psychic senses is the first thing. That's the first video I did. The second thing is being consistent and repeating the sacred space, ideally at the same time, the same spot, every day. So the third thing is repetition. So you repeat this practice over and over. It's like you make an appointment with your soul. I'll see you at this time, and your soul will be waiting for you, if that makes sense. Your soul's always with you, but it's like making an appointment. So you're dropping in and you're giving yourself space and time for your internal world. And the more you do that, the more internal time you have, the deeper your connection with your soul will be, the easier it'll be to discern and have clarity and communicate with your soul. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here. The next video I'm gonna talk about, you know, once you've set your intention and you're doing your sacred space daily at the same time, and you're practicing mindfulness, and you're just being present with yourself and noticing your thoughts, noticing the sensations in your body, and being the observer and stepping into that soul space, then I'll do the next video on how to set intentions in that space, set intentions for healing and opening your psychic senses. I have actual affirmation sentences that I've developed, prayers that you can say, and then types of processes you can do when you're in the sacred space. And then examples of ways to do intuitive development, soul psychic sense development when you're not in the sacred space. So I'll have another video about that, all the external ways that you can continuously stay connected to your soul space through the waking hours of the day. And then the next video after that will be about how to start to reach out and practice, because all of these first videos are about connecting with your own soul. So then once you've developed a connection with your own soul and you know what your own energy feels like, then I feel like it's really safe to start to do soul-to-soul connections with other living people and doing some practice with feeling other people's energy and how to do that. And that's a really integral part of psychic development. And then in that process, you get validation. You start to have more trust. You start to doubt yourself less. And that's when I'm going to talk about fear and doubt as being the #1 killers of intuition. And then the last 2 videos, I'm going to talk about how all of this is helping you to become a clear channel and the living embodied soul self in waking life in synchronicity, and how that is actually part of your intuitive development process. So there's a lot of different topics. So keep tuned for the next video, and I will see you all later.